It's Podquester time now. It is Podquester time.
Hey Renzo, it's so good to see you.
Hi, Suzi. I feel like I haven't seen you forever. Nice to see you. You're looking amazing.
Thank you. You as well. I hate
thank
that we are meeting under these circumstances.
I know. The episode is just overwhelming. I'm still like trying to digest everything that has happened within the episode. And I cannot wait to go like with all the details, with everything that has happened and talk about it with you, Suzi.
Yeah, this episode was, of course, another tragedy. I am dressed for the funeral here. I don't have my veil all the way on because, you know, we have some people who have a chance in, and I still have some people I love in the game. You know, I've been converted to a Josh Mosh fan. Billy is not going to go down without a fight. There's some really good
love
stuff
Billy.
going on within the game still. I'm still impressed with Natalie. And so I can't go full veil, but I have to go at least partly veil. We lost our Women of Color Alliance. They've been strategically taken out one by one by one, and I have to mourn it. They were my life force. They were my hype squad, just like knowing they were there supporting each other. So yeah, the veil came out tonight. You know, and it's there for Muna. It's there for Billy. Well, not Billy. It's there for Muna. It's there for Shireen. It's there for Rachel. It's there for Katie, who did what she did. And even there for Jay West. Poor Besito. You know what I mean?
I agree. Like seeing their alliance form at the beginning of the game really gave me goosebumps. Like I really love it. It really gives me hope in social strategy games like this that there is a better future. It can happen. We can make this happen. And I was just like rooting for their alliance all the way. And I know that the structure with the game, with the structure of the battle matches, you will not be able to control everything within the game. And I think a lot of us are still in that Sequester mini realm where battle matches are really not a thing. But yeah, I think that powerful alliance was something that I'm really, really like looking forward to every episode. And now it's kind of gone. I really feel bad. I am sad. There's an opportunity for one of them to come back. And I'm still like a big Billy stan right now. I love Billy so much. And yeah.
Billy was a killer. Like, oh my God. We'll go through it step by step because I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, and I totally want to get ahead of ourselves, right? I'm already ready to talk about some of these moments.
I know. Okay,
let's start at the very beginning. I've heard that's a very good place to start. We will start with Spencer coming back. He was not welcomed warmly.
He wasn't. Agreed. I think he said something about the title of the episode, Olive Branches, and like in his confessional. And I think it really perfectly encapsulates how he has been doing in the game in terms of extending his social connections all over and over again. But something is not working. And I feel like it's at this point in this game that he has to understand that something that he's doing might not be working at the best of his game. Maybe has to look more at his body languages, his demeanor, his tone, and I feel like he needs some more self-awareness.
Yes, the lack of awareness, both in his game and in other people's games, was a lot to watch this episode. He is not got the best reads on the game or on other people. I think that we saw Josh come back in and reintegrate himself beautifully. We saw Natalie come back in. Natalie's still struggling to gain power in the house, but Natalie is not on the top of everybody's tongue, even though she also was voted out. Spencer stays on people's mouths. Like, folks cannot keep his name out of their mouths, and he's got to say what was I doing that wasn't working, and how can I make it work? Because, and you know what? Muna told him what wasn't working. She was like, you got a stank face and a stank voice, and when you talk to me, it's stanky. Maybe fix all of that. And he was like, nah, sorry, but nah.
I totally agree. And I feel like a lot of this would be our idea of Sequester Mini, because in Sequester Mini, you cannot see the entire body language. The connection is very limited. The social time that we have, and the eye-to-eye connection, everything of those is not as emphasized as if you are competing live. And yes, it's still like a limited amount of time, but it's much more emphasized. And this is the power of your self-awareness, of being empathic to people, is just like a big part. And I think as a player that he is in a social strategy game, he must be a little bit more aware of that. And there's still hope. Like, it's still a long game. Maybe he would learn. Let's see in the next few episodes.
Yeah. I think that, we see him and Jacob juxtaposed a lot this episode.
I super think.
We see Jacob edited in next to Spencer talking about the comeback a little bit. And Jacob's like, how can I smooth this over? How can I smooth this over? And Spencer's like, y'all fake. And I'm like, do you see how these are different ways of playing the game? And why Jacob Jones is the 2-time winner, who could call me tomorrow and I might fly down to see him because he's chill as hell, even though I'm real mad at him right now. Okay, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But still, you know what I mean? This is why Jacob Jones is good at this game. And Spencer needs to observe that kind of thought process, which is, and I'm not going to say don't be emotional. Be emotional. It's an emotional game. Have your feelings. But when you're playing, you've got to start thinking about your next step, not just what is happening right now. And you can hate all these people, but you still have to play with them. So figure out a way to win,
Yeah. And and to even encapsulate that, be aware of how you make people feel. Yes, this is a strategic social game, but we are all human beings with emotions, and sometimes those emotions, especially in a social strategy game, will play a big part in how you want to align with people on who you want to target. And yeah, I really agree with everything that you said, Suzi.
And so he comes back in, and he's right. No one's happy to see him. Jacob is the most happy to see him. Probably because he doesn't really know what he's going to say to Muna if Muna came back. So Jacob's like, this is a lot easier. It was a throne vote situation, or blah, blah, blah. This will make me look sympathetic because now Muna's gone. And he's the only one who's like, yes. And I think Brent's probably happy that Spencer's back too, because later he's talking about how he wants to protect Spencer. But I mean, the Women's of Color Alliance is big mad. They are unhappy. Shireen, Rachel, and Billy.
Billy. I really feel bad for Billy when the entire thing was happening and when she was doing her confessional.
Muna was her number, but I don't know if I'd say Muna was her number one, but Muna was definitely one of the biggest supporters of Billy, and Billy knew that Muna was on the level with her. So she really felt that loss hard. And I think that it maybe steeled up Rachel and Shireen in a way it didn't with Billy. So Billy was really emotional, I think, the whole episode. And I think it starts there. But Rachel and Shireen were like, all right, this makes it go time then.
Exactly. I saw the fire in Rachel. Rachel is like, if I can vote Spencer again, I will vote him in all the future rounds. I just want him gone. I like that spirit from Rachel. I don't know what to expect from Rachel at the beginning of the game, but like at this specific episode, I was like really rooting hard for her, and I love the spirit. I love what she's standing up for. I love what Billy is standing up for, and there's a lot in that alliance that I just really like that I rarely see in shows like this.
I know, almost never. Before we go any further, I'm going to ask like a really specific question. Do you think that there is any point in casting men? Do you think they're necessary for a game?
Casting
men, male contestant. Do you think that we should? I've been thinking about, Are You the One did an entire season of just gender queer and gender fluid and queer folks on the show, no straight people. I'm wondering what it would look like to only have a game of women of color, or just women, even white women can come along once in a while too. I'm wondering, is it necessary, do you think, to have men?
As a young man
you said, well, this is a self-interested question. Let me think.
I know. Wait, as a young person watching reality shows like this, growing up, I felt like it is everything that I see in the television shows or like in these shows are like representation of what's happening and of how people think from different backgrounds, from different lifestyles, and from different parts of the world, from different walks of life. And I sometimes like how different backgrounds will see that they have more commonalities than they think that they are different, and that there are things that they don't know yet just because they don't have that exposure in their usual bubble. So I think there would be a magic, for example, if you have an episode or like a season that is just all women, all queer, all women of color specifically, that would be great. But I feel like one big aspect of like these games are showing how the reality is happening outside these shows, and that it would be a great starting point to have this hard discussion, this hard things that we don't usually talk about because it's emphasized in social strategy games, and it just makes us as a better human beings because we now see perspectives that we don't usually see. And I hope that people are becoming more open to these kinds of difficult discussions because it just makes the world a better place if we are more open to listening and if we are calling in with everybody regarding some of the biases that we might see against women and women of color.
I think that you have some really good points there. My biggest concern, of course, is that all of these difficult conversations come on the sacrifice and the backs of women of color. So,
I agree.
So while we're all learning and educating ourselves, it's women of color who are being harmed by these kinds of situations. Okay. Just something I had to throw out there that I'm like, you know what? Do we need men in this show? I'm frustrated. Like, Spencer comes back and he's like, hey, I chose Muna instead of Jacob Jones because I need Jacob. I want to extend an olive branch to him by not picking him. Why Jacob instead of Muna? Why not extend an olive branch to Muna instead of Jacob, who betrayed you, who's proven to be a bad ally? Muna is not being a bad ally because she's not your ally. You know where she stands. This is the same way I talked about Josh and who he picked in the first battle back. And Natalie.
I don't know what they're feeling during those heat of the moments. Because like being eliminated is also painful. Like when you've been lied on your face and you're on the spot.
Oh my God. I understand being emotional. For sure. It's just hard to hear in the confessional that you want to work with men, but not women. And we don't have reasons. Like, why would you want to work with Jacob instead of Muna? We see Muna go into jury and she reminds them, hey, I've won once. I've played like 7 times. I've only won once. Jacob Jones has won every time he's played except for Shadows. Like, so why are we talking about me as a bigger threat than him? And Katie replies, they hate strong women. This episode does not prove them wrong when they say that. We'll just keep it that way.
And I will say something big right here. I feel like a lot of people are just not used to seeing strong women in these shows. So there are really like those biases that must be talked about, and like it might that because if it's uncommon to see, it's more emphasized. So when you're in that specific point, when you're trying to come up with who you think betrayed you the most, the thing with the highest emotion to it, which is because you don't regularly see it, becomes on top of all the other betrayals or emotions that you have. So I hope, like with the pattern of what's happening in these battle matches, people are becoming more aware that there are really strong, powerful women out there, and we should stand them and we should support
Yeah.
them.
So this is ugly. My face is broken out. You know what I mean? I'm not sleeping well. My credit plummeted when it saw this boot list. It is taking an effect in my life.
I agree. Yeah. And I know, like,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just like Muna's elimination. I was so happy to hear how Dash and Louis explained it. The recap episode before this, but I think at least at the very end, the positive thing is that Muna had a positive story arc. Like she wasn't scared until the end of the game, and that is also manifested in how Rachel was willing to. I think I'm going ahead of myself as of right now, but a little bit. But yes, I feel like at least Rachel in this confessional, and when she said that she's not afraid of Spencer, just shows how they are strong, they are powerful, and they're willing to fight whoever they have to fight to progress themselves inside the game. And I like the story arches that these strong women of characters are having in the show. So I am kind of disappointed with what's happening at the pattern, but at least the story that they are having, regardless of the placement, is still has a very beautiful message that the world needs to see.
Yeah, and I feel like they are very much in control of their narrative, which is not something we see a lot in the women of color on TV. They get to tell their stories and we get to hear them. And I don't think that, I don't think we're missing out on details that we don't understand. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you watch and you're like, I don't get what's happening. I think that, there is a full view of what's happening in that house. And I do applaud that happening. I'm incredibly interested to hear their opinions afterwards. But right now I am very and see if there is anything we're missing. But right now I agree. I think we're getting a lot of their time. They're getting a lot of camera time, and it's such a clear narrative about them that it's hard to watch for a lot of reasons, but it's also amazing every time they're on screen. Then, so Rachel is just like, I hate him. And then the twist is introduced. I appreciated they released this twist early because it was a little confusing. We do have let me open it.
The double elimination twist. I think that is a part that they explained what the twist is about. The ball and chain.
I love calling it ball and chain instead of just tethers, though they do also call it tethers. Yeah. These are the tethers that we can take a look at. And so Brett was tethered to Drew, Billy, Spencer, Jacob, Natalie, Josh, Brendan, Rachel, Marcelo, Shireen, and then Shireen, Brent. There, I think we could just kind of go. Do you want to go in order of how it happened, or in order of, or do you want to just talk about each person?
I think I want to talk about the twist first, because this is the first time we're having a double elimination, and it just really created a lot of new dynamics within the game. Thinking that 40% of the cast will be battling in a battle match, and that but only 3 votes are still going to be exposed. And the dynamics of this double elimination is, if you look at the chains right now, the tethers of people in this chart are magically not directly working with each other. I don't see a persons beside each other. What I would say that they are an obvious pair. So I really like how magical that happened, because it just gave opportunities for people like Josh, for people like Natalie, to create some power in this game, and have new ways or new opportunities to have those olive branches, reach out to them and have it. And yeah, what do you think of the twist, Suzi?
I think you are exactly right. We have a lot of like top bottom people coming in here. And by that, I mean on the boot list order, not on the, I don't know their sexual preferences. But yeah, top bottom. I mean, Jacob, Natalie, Spencer, Jacob, this kind of conversation. What we didn't expect was for people to turn onto Jacob. He seemed so well placed before this. So for Jacob to be some tied to Spencer and Natalie going into it, we might think, oh, well, Spencer and Natalie are safe for once. And yet suddenly, because Jacob is enemy number one, they are also in danger. I think the only people who are really well placed are the ones connected to Marcelo.
Oh, that's a great statement. I agree. Marcelo's name never came out this episode. He is becoming a little bit invisible, but in a very powerful way. Because as I said, in a game like this where battle matches are a big thing, being invisible is actually a powerful position to be in, and seeing where all the votes are going and without your name being out there is just, I'm excited for the future of Marcelo for the next few episodes.
I was really down on Marcelo's game in the beginning because he was like, I'm a snake. I'm Marcelo. I'm here to be a snake. And I was like, listen, snakes don't announce themselves. So, yeah. And I was just like, I don't get that. So I was like, Jacob's the one being a snake. But I think he is being so freaking snaky now because he is slithering. He's lying. He's pretending to be hurt. The top thinks that he's with them. The bottom thinks that he's with them. They're both sides are like, poor Marcelo. We can't hurt Marcelo. Marcelo is so loyal. What the fuck, Marcelo? You know what I mean? Like, he has proven why he is one of the best snakes in the game, and why Audrey saw what Audrey saw in him. Right? She was like, all right, I see me a snake. Let me get him. And he's playing that position well. His name did not come up. There was a couple of thrown votes on Rachel. But even that conversation did not discuss how it might affect Marcelo. He's so invisible.
He is. I see that. Like, I remember him because in my very first Sequester mini, I played with him. And at that point, I know nothing of Sequester. I know nothing of Marcelo. And he really has those ability to connect with people and make myself trust him, even if I don't know him a lot. So now that they're like seeing each other live, I can see him making his magic like very strong, especially in this episode, as you said, because his name is just not out there. Like, what a powerful position to be in.
Yeah, I know that. Like, I saw some people in the comments being like, he's giving me nothing, and I'm like, no, he's giving you the anti Brent, right? Like, Brent is like trying to make things happen, blah blah blah. Marcelo is just like, I'm just Marcelo. Nobody hurt me. You owe me. I guess I'll let you do this. I guess I'll do this for you. When it's all working out to his plan. He doesn't need to be making waves. Like, he is, like, people are making waves and parting the sea for Marcelo. Okay? He's walking down that straight and narrow.
He is perfectly placed in the middle of all potential ways you can divide the house. And if you're able to make yourself to be in that powerful position, you're doing something good. You're doing something very smart.
Yeah. So we see Natalie trying to kind of use this new twist to go after Brendan, who she feels is in that Marcelo position. And I think that's a good call. I think that Natalie does have a lot of awareness that people aren't seeing. And, we joked about that whole attack. I'm an accountant. I gather data. Like, that was a weird way of saying I'm good at this game because I'm observant. I'm like, I think you're a good accountant because you're observant. I don't think you're observant because you're an accountant. Like, but I think that Natalie is a lot more aware. Like, if we look at Spencer versus Natalie, Natalie has some awareness of what's happening in this game. She is reading what's going on, and she knows when to give up. She wanted to push Brendan so freaking hard, but the moment he found out, she was like, all right, it's not working. Let's move on. What else can I do here? She's not making alliances. She can't find an alliance to save her fucking life, but she's still not being targeted. So we love to see it.
I'm so proud of Natalie. I really am. And I always saw the fire in her, even in their Sequester minis in the past. And in this just specific episode, when she was trying to push for Brendan's name, I saw a glimmer of hope. I saw like, she's enjoying the game. And I feel like, yes, a lot of these players are trying to win, but you're still playing a game and you still want to have fun. I feel like I saw some smiles from Natalie in this episode, and I was like genuine, authentic happiness smile. And I was just like, oh, I love to see that. I love when people are, and she just saw that there's hope and she can somehow still play the game, and there is still a way for her to the end, because there is, especially after this episode.
Yeah, I really hope that we see her able to connect with some of these people who had Alliance members that left in the past couple of games. So I'm hoping to see her integrate herself a little more closely with some of these people moving forward. Exactly. So the main contenders to go are Shireen's freaking out that she and Brent will go, which is understandable. That would have been a good target to get out both Shireen and Brent. That's hard to resist. But nobody's really interested. Instead, the focuses seem to be Brendan, Natalie, Billy, and Jacob. What do you think about these three?
With Brendan, I think when I first saw the chart, I was really scared for Josh and Natalie, just because they were both eliminated, and I was like, they're paired together, and I was like, I hope it's not them. I hope it's not them. I hope it's not them. But then I think the scene after that was just like Natalie trying to push Brendan's name. So I got scared for Brendan a little bit as well for this episode. I thought that he was also in that Marcelo position wherein he was kind of falling in the invisible, which is a great position to be in. And I will feel bad if Josh is like an after effect of this. So I was scared for that. But really the focus is also like the Spencer and Jacob. When it was gaining traction, it was hard to resist, because you know that Jacob is a great player and Spencer has a lot of enemies, and I would see why a lot of people would just resort to saying that is the right thing to do right now.
Yeah, I think Brendan and Josh, I see what you're saying about Natalie and Josh, and it's almost surprising that didn't come up. That's an easy vote, right?
Yeah.
That's an easy vote. But Josh has integrated himself so well back into the cast that it only came up, I don't think it came up. It didn't come up. Josh had that problem with Brendan and being connected to him where Brendan's name was going around, which was giving Brent like conniptions, that's not a word, is it? He was having heart palpitations. That's what I'm trying to say. He needed like smelling salts.
Yeah. It's the first time.
Go ahead.
No, I think it's the first time that Brendan's name has been just out. That's why he was just like so scared for his life. And I wouldn't blame him if he felt it that way. But to some extent, it kind of hurt his game, because he was saying to a lot of people that, hey, I heard my name is out. Hey, I name my name is out. So if you keep saying that to a lot of people, then it would even influence them at the back of their head that his name is out. So he could be an easy vote for this round.
Yeah, and I think that what we had with Brendan too is his game completely exposed. Like no matter what people want to say about like everybody in the game being like, Natalie's so quiet, Natalie's not doing it. She exposed that man. That was my winner pick.
Really?
I think that he rides that middle so well. And I think he has like sneaky vibes in a good way. I think that, Brendan was really well positioned. I was happy with my winner pick the first three. I was like, I see it. He's going to win. But Natalie came in and she sniped to that. She totally exposed his game. And like the whole time she left him speechless. He couldn't disagree with her.
Yeah, I very much agree. I like to see it. I love it.
We love it. It's beautiful. It's gameplay. It's observance. It's social strategy. It's beautiful. The only problem is that Natalie does not have the social capital to pull it off. And that is a shame. And I hope that changes. Because if she gets that social capital, y'all folks need to watch out because she's coming for these winners. And then Billy's name came up, which Natalie was down for and Brendan was down for. And that would have taken out Spencer. Is that correct? Is that how the chart works?
Yes. If Billy's name is out, then Brent will come with her. But I think they were thinking back then that to put out Spencer's name, and if Billy is like the after effect, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah. So I think that Billy's name is out. People were having feelings about that, and then Billy is the one who brought up Jacob. She comes in the room while Jacob is trying to mend fences with Spencer, which was an interesting conversation. He's trying to spin this tale. This is what's interesting about this game is that they don't see each other between rounds. So between rounds, they're thinking of what they have to say. And we saw what happened with Brent and Katie when that happened. And now we're seeing what happens with Jacob and Spencer when that happens. And similarly, it's not going great. Because Jacob has a script he's trying to sell, and he's not relying on Spencer having reactions during it. So he's like, Muno was my number one. And then Spencer's like, Muno was everyone's number one. That was a hilarious moment for me. He was like, she was everyone's number one. That's why she had to go. I'm like, Jacob Jones is everyone's number one.
As well, exactly.
I'm like, dude, look at the man beside you. That's everyone's number one. He is the one who's like gotten a ride or die with every single person in the house. I almost want to be like, Spencer, did you see the last episode? Obviously he didn't. But I want to shake it and be like, look around you. The call is coming from inside the house.
Wake up. I very much agree. But at the same time, when that was all happening, Billy entered the room. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And I thought that there was just like a specific moment that triggered. I think that was of course, we just see what's happening in the edits. But at least in that scene, I just saw the tension between Billy and Jacob because they were gunning against each other for the rest of the episode after what happened there. What are your thoughts?
You could feel that tension. You could feel Billy was so mad. And she walks in there and she's still so mad. And she sees Jacob buddying up to this dude that she is so angry at. And then he asks her to leave. You lost her. You lost Billy then. She said, am I your ally or not? So then why aren't you sharing your conversations with me? I think that I don't even think that Jacob and Spencer continued that conversation in a fruitful manner much longer. I think he would have done better to pivot. That's easy to say now, but that was the moment he really lost Billy.
I super agree. And then I'm going back again to how you're making people feel inside the game. Saying that to somebody who is also having lots of emotions at that point, to leave the room might not be like the best way to do it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just thought that, oh no, this bridge is now burned. And we know that there are two people who have lots of social capital inside the game as well. So it's just gonna, I was so sad to see it happening, but at the same time, I thought it was still entertaining to watch something like that happen.
Yeah, it's not fun to watch an alliance just completely steamroll. We've seen that. We saw that this summer, or some of us said, maybe some of us stopped watching. But so it's always good entertainment, good TV to watch an alliance turn on each other. But my heart broke. I needed them to have each other's backs. But also, was Billy wrong? No. So as much as it hurt, Billy did. As much as it hurt me, totally regardless of my feelings, Billy set her sights on Jacob and Spencer, and she made that happen. She truly did.
Yeah. At that point as well, I think, because you've been mentioning that Jacob indeed has a lot of social capital inside the game, but also this episode is also testament to how strong Billy's social capital inside the game. The way that she was, because she was connected with Brent and Spencer, two people that you don't want to be connected with at this chance. And
The two biggest targets in the last episode.
she was just really not her luck just ran out in this episode. So and the way that she was able to control the narratives and still throw her both at the same time is just a good testament of how strong her social capital is. I think she is, for me, in the episode before, in 2 episodes before, I was telling people that she is, I think, playing the best game right now. And this episode has some roadblocks and hiccups as we've seen, but I just think she's playing strong, and I love to see it.
Yeah, I talked a little bit about this in other episodes, how I've been concerned about Billy because she mentioned in her pregame interviews that she doesn't want to play as emotionally, that she wants to kind of be strategic if she needs to be. I think either didn't understand what she means by that, or she's thrown that out, because I think she is absolutely playing with her emotions and with her guts, and it is killing it. Her instincts are almost always right. And it's a beautiful thing to watch, to see her kill this time and time and time again based on her guts. She knows she can't trust Jacob. She knows she can't trust Spencer. The moment she sees it, she takes it into consideration and she knows what she has to do. So yeah, she is a great testament to an emotional player to me, because she's playing emotionally, but she's also playing smart.
Exactly. Like in a lot of other games, people are gonna be not giving a lot of focus with emotions, but we are emotional beings. Emotions do play a big part in how we vote, on how we align with people, and there's nothing wrong with how she's using the power of her emotions. And at the same time, those emotions make her become more self-aware. And I think her great instincts are coming from that awareness of reading the room, of reading people around her. And she has that magic. And I cannot wait to see what's going to happen next episode, especially after this episode with Billy's story arch.
I do think that, Jacob's like, Billy's been throwing her vote. It pisses me off. This was my biggest concern with her, and it is coming back to bite her. I don't need an ally that throws their vote's an ally, but I'd rather have an ally that votes for somebody else to go home over me. You know what I mean? Like, help me. Don't just not hurt me. Help me. I don't need thrown votes. I need votes for the other person to keep me in the game. And I do think this is her weakest spot, and Jacob saw it, and he zoned in on it, and he used it to turn the target onto her.
I hear you so much, but I think her biggest allies right now did not even feel betrayed by, or at least the biggest allies that she treats as her allies weren't the ones that really got betrayed by her. I think her capability to make people feel good about her as well is and like in a game setup like this, that's also kind of biting, giving her some disadvantages, because if a lot of people feel good about you, it also means that a lot of people will feel betrayed however you vote. And I feel like that's why it was beneficial for her a lot of times to throw her vote so that her cards will not be shown.
Yeah, I totally think you are correct there, saying that she is staying on the good side of her allies by throwing her vote. And the only people she's pissing off are the people who are like, well, now I have to do your dirty work.
Yeah.
Suck it up. You're going to have to do some dirty work. If I were Jacob, I'd be pissed too. I'd be like, dude, who do you want out? Don't fucking throw your votes. Start voting. That's not cool. That's floating. That's being in the middle. I can understand why he would want her out for that. But I think you're right. I think that she's like, you can be mad, but you know who's not mad? All my allies who did not go home because of my vote. So stay mad. So I think that is going to be, that's classic gameplay. People at odds, right? They're at odds for game reasons, and we love to see it.
Agreed. Yeah.
So, Brent, oh my gosh, it was hilarious to watch.
Brent, there was a specific edit where the rat noises came out, specifically when Brent was telling everybody what the plans are, and he's gonna be like, yes, I'm fully into that. But the next scene, he's gonna be like, oh, your name is being thrown out by Natalie, your name is being thrown out by Billy, like
every room he enters, he's like, this is the plan. Because this and this and this. I'm like, Brent, have you heard of listening? Just like sit, chill, listen for a minute. Billy and Spencer have their big discussion, and Brent, like, dramatic as hell, like this is freaking Broadway, throws the door open and is like, we're voting Brendan. Everybody, we're voting Brendan. Are you like? He's fast though. He looks around, he knows who he says, and he's got the name. Like, ooh, could I? No, I would be like I would be quiet because I don't want to be James from Big Brother telling everybody, you know, like we're gonna blindside you on accident. You know what I mean? I have to. So Brendan sees everyone. He knows what's up, and he says the right thing. But it's also kind of hard to figure out what his actual plan is. We later realize who he's trying to keep safe, but only because he tells us. His actions everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like he was very in a good spot, at least at the start, because the people that he is tethered with are Billy and Shireen. And I think that those are well insulated people right now, at least in the house. So I wouldn't even I would have even loved to see him if he was more silent in this episode. Just to show some more dynamics in his gameplay, because I don't think he needs to rock the boat because he's in a good space in the boat of where everything is happening right now.
Yeah, I think that, you know, he could have been quieter and like you said, he was well insulated. So that would have been a really interesting change up of gameplay. Could Brent physically be quieter? I don't think so. Like he's got to be him, right? We got to be me. We got to be me. Like I'm like he's messy, but was he that messy when we consider the fact that he said everything to everyone that they wanted to hear? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like nobody. He you know, going into it, like he was. I don't know. He didn't get his way. So in ways, I'm like, why be that messy when you're not really doing anything? But he did make everybody feel like he was on their side. So that was, I think, effective. But, it was a lot. It was a lot. There was a lot of Brent just running around. And then he'd be like, this is the plan. And then they'd be like, oh, no, that can't. Like that time when Josh was like, I'm tied to Brendan. And he was like, no.
And they were holding hands with each other.
I'm like, this is not the Titanic, right? Y'all aren't going down. You'll see you next. Like,
yeah.
You would have thought he was like last lifeboat situation. Oh my god, they were, but it was entertainment. He was right. He's entertaining.
It is fun TV. But his challenge, I think, for the next few rounds is how to remain quiet if you have to be quiet. I think for people with loud personalities like him, I think that's also some of my problem. I'm not sure about you, Suzi, but like in a game when everything is just high pressure, it's hard. It's really hard to stay quiet if you really have like a loud personality. So I hope he gets his rhythm as we move along in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it will definitely things are going to be shaken up next episode. So, I mean, this double elimination was killer. Okay, so
Okay.
we see Shireen. We see a lot of Shireen, and she's.
I love it.
She's spilling so much tea. But before we see Shireen spell tea, we do have the conversation that I just mentioned, which was Billy and Spencer. I was really unhappy. I did not care for the way that he characterized that. He was like, hey, I was just like, hey, girl, you and me, we can't work together. I guess I got to move on. When in reality, he screamed at her, like, don't act like you didn't yell at that girl. Like, you know what I mean? And emotions went high. We saw Billy yelling. Folks yell, but like, to just be like, I don't know why she was so mad at me. I was super kind and respectful and really reasonable, just couldn't get it together, the two of us. I felt like was just bullshit.
It is. And I'm saying that it is really BS. Like the way that scene happened, specifically with him and Muna, it may be the lack of self-awareness yet again, but it was really BS. But at that time, when he's talking to somebody still left in the game who's very well aligned with that person, would you do anything that you can to at least appease Billy's mind so that Billy wouldn't go so much strongly against Spencer? So maybe there is some strategy involved with how he recalled the story. I am personally not happy about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that definitely he's trying to be like, hey, I don't know. But what I don't like is when he literally like says, I didn't say anything to her. And then he like kind of tells the whole, this is what I actually said. This is what we said. But, using strategy as an excuse is kind of a lot when what you're trying to do is like paint her as irrational. You know what I mean? Like Muna wasn't irrationally upset. She was upset because dude yelled at her and she was trying to work with him. And she didn't want to vote for him that round. She wanted to vote out Brent until he yelled at her. So, I mean, like to paint Muna as irrational is a lot. And I do think that you could have said, oh my God, I played that all wrong with Muna. I totally yelled at her. I was high strung. There was adrenaline. She blew up at me rightfully. And then when I lost, I tried to apologize again. Like I played that wrong. Like to me, it would have gone a lot further. If I were Billy and that's what he had said to me, I wouldn't have believed him. I'd be like, I know Muna. And what we're not going to do is pretend she's irrational. It would have really made me upset if I had been Billy to hear him just be like, oh, I didn't do anything. Why would she act like that when I called her into a battle match? Who knows?
Yeah, you're totally right.
Basically, like, girls be loco. You know what I mean? I'm like, no.
Yeah. You're totally right. You're totally right. And I think I want to revisit that clip. Maybe I wasn't paying much attention. Maybe because my tolerance level to just like all the things that are happening is just like not there anymore. So it was, yeah. So, but I agree with you. And I apologize for what I said a while ago, but I agree with you. I think if I were Billy, the best solution would be just to be completely transparent and to genuinely apologize to show.
Maybe you were Spencer.
Yeah, if you were Spencer, because I think that would just build more trust and a way moving forward than.
But I do think you're right. I think he was trying to play it strategically. I think he knows why Muna blew up at him. I don't. Yeah. I mean, I know we're saying that he's lacking some self-awareness in the game, but she made it really clear why she blew up at him. So we know he knows why. So I do think it has to be strategy that he was just trying to be like, why would she yell at me? Yeah. That sucks. I just told her, hey, we can't play together. She just wasn't my ally. And it was just, to me, bad strategy. Bad. And I promise you, I would have loved him to try it on Shireen. Shireen with her WAP, WAP earring. Okay, we appreciate power.
Yeah. I feel like I did not even want to hear it. That's why I cannot even remember that scene specifically.
I blocked it out.
It's not here anymore.
Yeah, and then it was just hilarious because then Brent, of course, breaks the tension by throwing the door open. Be like, we're voting out Brendan. Billy and John were like, okay. That's cool. Like,
Yeah.
good to you. Like, I almost wonder if Brent was like, it almost felt like he was like out there waiting for his cue. Love drama. Yeah, so all of that happens. Then we have Shireen,
Yes.
and she just spills all the tea.
That's an iconic confessional. I will say like one of the best confessionals thus far in Sequester this season. She named all the floaters.
She's like, I can't help Natalie if Natalie won't help herself. And I have seen Natalie's explanation on to why she voted Rachel. I've seen Natalie's explanation as to why she pulled a Katie. I still don't understand. Like, for me, those are still not like I still don't get it. Like, very observant woman who's exposing the hell out of some game players, but I don't understand her whole gameplay as a whole. I'm not like completely convinced as to what's happening there.
I think she's really good, like a book smart person. Like in terms of like book smart, like smart being book smart, she is that. And a lot of people's tendencies who are like very, very smart in a book smart way is to overthink. And I think that's her biggest challenge. Because I understand, and I think, and I can see it in her that she understands everything, but because she understands everything so much more, she has this tendency to do the meta of the meta, even if you don't need to reach that level. So she's really overthinking a lot, and I feel like if she just tone it down a little bit and also anticipate how people are voting much more correctly, then she could have made those, like it would have been better game moves for her. But I agree, like there were some sad moments in the past where her votes did not really progress herself in the game.
Yeah. So I think that Shireen's was really giving us explanations that I understood as to who she was working with and why. So then we see Brendan say he's throwing his vote to Rachel, and Shireen says she's throwing her vote to Rachel. And to be frank, for a moment, I was afraid Rachel was going to be eliminated. I was like,
me too. But I feel like if she's gonna be eliminated, she's gonna battle match Spencer.
She'd be like, yes, all right, my choice. Let's go, Spencer. I don't even care who voted for me. You can expose all three votes. I don't care. I'm taking Spencer out. She would have been hype as hell.
I would have loved to see that.
Oh my god! I mean, I didn't want her to go. I didn't want her to be eliminated. So it's fair. Yeah. But thinking back now, yes, I wish that Rachel had been voted in, so she could have taken Spencer, because that's who she wanted.
That's a retrospect learning, though. Like I think that's a retrospect for both of us, because now that we know that she still got like battle match. Then, but at least if she was voted out, she would have that powerful, iconic moment of just choosing Spencer.
Let's go. Like, she would have been like bouncing up and down. She'd been like, all right, adrenaline's going. You and me, boy, you and me. She was ready to take him all the way to town. So yeah, Rachel, she has been such a delight to watch. Let's be honest.
So she's the biggest surprise to me, I feel like. Well, next to Billy, because with Rachel, I did not know what to expect with her coming into the game, and just like watching her play episode after episode, I just like my liking to her just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think it really reached the peak at this episode. Like, oh, I'm a big Rachel stan right now. Go Rachel.
I know. We've got to come up with Rachel stan names. Her last name is Stern. Can we do something like that? Like where we combine Stan and Stern? Stern? No. Rachel and Stan. Let's think about it. Let's keep thinking about it.
Yeah.
Something. Everybody out there, come up with our name for us. We better come up with a Rachel Stan name.
Okay. Yeah. But what do you think of that? Like, I've been with the way the votes were thrown this round. Because like in Sequester Mini World, when you're throwing votes, the best thing to do is to throw votes to not your allies. But
right.
in this
Somebody that like if they go, you ain't mad at it.
exactly. But in this specific episode, Billy thrown a vote for herself. Shireen thrown a vote to Rachel. Do you think that there is like what is the advantage of throwing a vote? Like I don't know how to explain it, but like what do you think they were thinking in these throw votes?
So this episode was especially complex because you had the people that they were tethered to who would take it as a shot as well at them. So Billy, if she's going to throw a vote, throwing a vote at herself, that was the move to me. And I think that honestly, when Brent was like, "Who'd you vote for? Who'd you vote for?" I would have said that move was bomb as hell.
Yeah.
Because you're like, listen, I am so confident and such a good ally that if anybody goes, I'm gonna put it on myself. I'll take me out before I take you out. You know what I mean? I think she should have owned up to it and said what she done did. Because that was boss. That was boss to like be like, I put you above me. I voted for myself before I voted for you. And I know that people were throwing votes, and I know my name was going around. I could have gone, but I took that into consideration, and I still didn't vote for you. I still voted for myself.
I think that is very perfectly well said, Suzi. Now it makes sense to me because, like, I will admit it before this recap episode, I was like, what were they thinking? But after hearing what you said, yes, that is probably a very smart move because number one, you know how much social capital you have that even if you vote your ally, you vote yourself, it's not gonna gain enough traction to get you out. It was close though, closer than
I like that's a result oriented
yeah, that's a result oriented observation.
Yeah,
but I agree.
Girl, don't throw votes on yourself. Don't. Yeah. Who are you gonna battle match when you throw a vote on yourself? You done did it. You know what I mean? Like, just take your ass home. It's like Natalie threw her vote, and I was just like, I feel the same way, dude. Like, I feel she really could have gone here. Her name was going around, and she knew Marcella was voting for her.
Yeah, I don't think that was a smart move, to be objective.
It only took 3 votes to take Jacob out. That's 2 guaranteed votes there. What are you doing?
If there's just one more person who threw a vote, like on Billy or for example on Rachel, then Shireen's like ally for Rachel is gone because of Shireen, or like Billy is out because of Billy. And I would like I would be so devastated to see that story arc just happening if that happened. I'm really happy that it did not.
Yeah. Jacob was less happy. Jacob was big mad. He said that there was nobody he'd rather be up there with than Spencer. I don't think that's the compliment he and Spencer's eliminated with you.
Actually,
they were both like, yes, that's very true. And I'm like, I don't feel that way. I don't feel that way. Choose someone else to be up here, bro. I'd rather not be your number one and not be here than be your number one and be eliminated.
I'll be so sorry to say this, but that was a little cringy to watch because they were just so proud that they were together, ready to battle. Maybe that's like a way for them to have the confidence and to maybe there's still some strategy.
I don't know. There was adrenaline pumping for sure.
Probably, but it was just like
it's awesome to speak sometimes. But he said it, and then Spencer affirmed it, and they were both like, "Yeah." I was just like, no.
Yeah, it was cringy a little bit, but it was good TV. Definitely, it was good TV.
Cute in its own way, right? It was cute. So they were like, I'd rather be here than anybody. I'm like, okay, well, good, because that's who you are, and that's what you wanted.
And they were like, it even seemed like they were like, scare everybody who's left in the game. And I think they, at least maybe for Jacob's perspective, he was like really trying to look at the body movement and the body language of everybody in the game. So there might be some strategy with it, at least for Jacob, like when he was like in front, being so really confident, even taunting to some extent. Maybe that's a way to really see who would twitch, who really betrayed him. And
Yeah, he was puffing out his chest. He was fun.
Yeah.
Excuse me. He was puffing out his chest a lot. He was puffing out his chest, and he was trying, and he was trying to get in folks' heads. And also, I think he was trying to pump himself up. He was about to go. So there was no way to deny that. So if you're about to go with confidence.
I think he overdid. They both overdid it a little, which made it a good TV. But yeah, it was like. Oh.
So then we had probably so then they decided to expose the votes. This was really frustrating for me. How did you feel?
It was so hard to watch. Like, I think that's why I needed some minutes before the recap episode to just like breathe, internalize, adjust everything that is happening. But it was. So
we're gonna do something really fast, and I'm sorry I didn't tell Renzo we were doing this, but we're gonna go over something that's important to me.
Okay.
Let's see if I can find it. I think this is it. Let's see. Yes. This is called hegemonic masculinity. This is a chart of types of masculinity. This is from an R.W. Connell book on masculinities. What we have here are 4 types of masculinities. That's right. I'm bringing my degree out. I don't care. Turn it off if you're sick of feminist rants. I don't give a fuck. We're going to have a feminist rant. There are 4 types of masculinity. We have hegemonic, white, heterosexual, cisgender, physically fit, muscular, does not share emotions, aggressive, the man's man stereotype, complicit, white, heterosexual, cisgender, but missing one or more aspects of hegemonic masculinity. Maybe slim or overweight, emotional, and aggressive, believes that hegemonic masculinity is correct and strives to achieve it. Marginalized, men of color, or disabled white men, or who otherwise meet all requirements of either hegemonic or complicit masculinity. And finally, subordinate, non-cisgender, non-heterosexual, i.e. queer, some heterosexual men. This is important to me because I think we see a lot of masculinity in this conversation, but with this entire group. This section oozes masculinity, and to be frank, it made me fucking sick. You can look for that on my Twitter. I will link to to an article or to the book if you're interested in learning more about masculinity. But I think it's incredibly relevant to this conversation about whose votes they chose and who they chose to battle back.
Thank you for bringing that up, Suzi. I really appreciate you opening up that conversation. And I'm a big person looking at patterns and not just on a case-to-case basis. And 5 out of 5 times a woman has been chosen to be battle matched. Right? I think I'm correct. 5 out of 5.
Well, Jay still ended up going in, but he was originally chosen.
Oh yeah. So 4.5 out of 5.
5 out of 6. Let's say 5 out of 6 there.
5 out of yeah.
Or if we count the Natalie switch, we could even say 6 out of 7.
6 out of 7, exactly. Of women being chosen. And if you are not seeing a problem about that pattern, then I suggest do some reflection, do some research, because there's really a big problem about it. And it's now the time to just be open to learning. And if you're not aware that this is happening right now, I am personally would feel more grateful if you just do more learning instead of being defensive, because we're all learning. We're in a journey of learning. And it's okay not to know everything, but it's not okay not to know everything, especially if you're given a chance like this, that it is happening and you have to know it.
Yeah, it's not okay to know you don't know everything and just accept that. You have to be moving forward and learning. So first, before they decide their battle match, they decide to expose votes, and they decide that together, and they make a show of it because Jacob Jones is a show off. He loves good TV, and clearly Spencer does too. I mean, he's not here for anyone's coronation. Like, we get it, bro. So like they're both. I mean, that's what casting's about, right? Finding people who are going to make big TV. They're making big TV. They're not going to sit in a corner and be like, "What do you think? What do you think?" They're like, "All right. Who are we going to do? Who are we going to do?" There's a lot of posturing involved. Right?
Yeah.
They discuss revealing Marcella's vote, but Jacob's like, no. Marcelo's with us. We shouldn't expose his vote. Never Marcelo. Marcelo is 100% not voting for us. Okay, so not Marcelo. Well, what about Brendan then? Who did Brendan vote for? No, Spencer says. We know he voted for us. It was him or us. No other option, even though Marcelo voted for Billy. So there was another option. So which Jacob Jones knew, but no. We can't expose Brendan. He just doesn't have a choice. He had to vote for us. So let's expose 3 women. Why not? We're going to expose Rachel, Shireen, and Natalie's votes. And that was the decision they went with. 3 women. Billy, for once, was not picked. Billy has often been picked. I'm kind of surprised Billy wasn't picked, given Jacob Jones' tirade about how, and I don't know why I have to say his whole name, but Jacob Jones' tirade about how she threw her votes. You would think that he'd be like, "Are you throwing votes now?" So it would give him a good excuse, but instead they choose Natalie, they choose Shireen, and they choose Rachel.
I'm going back to Billy and Jacob. I feel like Jacob was specifically looking for a person that he would have the best chance to beat. I'm not sure if he's even said that word by word in the episode, but I think that was what I was feeling when he was trying to make up a decision of who he's gonna pick. And Billy, I think to some extent, intimidated Jacob when Billy just controlled the narrative and said everything that she has to say. And I was really proud for Billy of doing that, because that really, I think, made a big decision of her vote not being revealed. But even if it's revealed, like what you said a while ago, her voting herself in a speech like that, that would have been chef's kiss to watch.
If I had been her, I would have done it the moment he said my name. Before I'd be like, "You don't have to call me out. I'll tell you who I vote for." And then she had the chance, and Brent said it too. I'd be like, "No. You want to know who I voted for, Brent?" Like, oh my God, she could have did that, because it would have been so boss. But she had a lot of good speeches anyway. But so she convinces them not to ask for them. He's like, "Well, I had made her publicly say I was her ally." I don't know. That's not worth that much to me, but it is to Jacob, I guess. I see what he's saying, but to me, that just puts a bigger target on my back. But at the same time, she's offering an olive branch. He kind of takes it there. I understand that. And I do think, Billy could beat some of these people in a battle match. You know what I mean? Like, I think all of these people could. I think it's a fair chance all the way across the board. But he does literally say, "I want my best chance." In a gender neutral game, I want my best chance.
I agree.
Brent said it last game, and that's why they didn't vote Brent in. And now, suddenly we forgot that, and I need to put, like Shireen said, the insults of being like, "Oh, Rachel's the physically weakest." That really bothered me. First, he goes for Natalie, and then Spencer's up, and he first goes for Natalie, who did vote Jacob. She is the only one of the people they called that did vote for them. Is that correct? Who did Rachel vote?
Rachel voted for Jacob as well. So
Yeah, right.
both of them, yeah.
I'm wrong. Shireen's the only one who didn't. So he wants Natalie because he voted for them. Jacob Jones is running Spencer. He needs Spencer back.
Yeah.
Running that man. Why is Spencer listening to him?
Jacob's power.
Jacob's he's just like, come on, man, don't do it. Natalie's a bad choice. Why would you do Natalie? Like, Natalie is saying things that make sense. And he's like, oh, yeah, Natalie's right. I'm not 100% sure. I believe he would have changed his mind if Jacob weren't there. You know what I mean? Because he is not, again, that aware of the game in the best ways that we've seen. Jacob is. And Jacob knows he needs Spencer back because he can run him. And he does.
And we know that Jacob and Natalie has a thing. Like in the previous episode, they had that one-on-one alliance that they wouldn't go against each other. And I think that was a big incentive for Jacob to convince Spencer to change his mind at that point. And you're right. I feel like Spencer was a little bit rattled by what happened more than Jacob, because Jacob was more in that area of who are we choosing so that when we go back we can further ourselves in the game, while Spencer is left in this moment of chaos. And I don't know what's going through his head at that point, but his decision was being heavily influenced by Jacob.
Yeah, and it felt like a lot more instinctive for Spencer. And normally I'm a big follow your instincts person. Spencer, do not follow your instincts. You know what I mean? You're going for Muna's or Jacob. Your first instinct is Natalie. Don't follow your instincts, bro. Do the exact opposite every time. And I think you'll get farther. I think that, Spencer, but he does. He takes it back. He's like, all right. Well, then who should I do? So now he's asking Natalie to tell him who to do.
I actually respect that move. I think that him asking Natalie, I think is one move that I can compliment that Spencer did in that episode. I think that opened up cards for Natalie, and now she's in that position to say to reveal who she thinks is in the power. And that information like this being exposed in a public setting where all the players are always powerful to have.
Yeah.
And
I think you are absolutely right. I didn't think of it that way. And I think you're 100% correct. She is so observant and so good at analysis that her opinion is really, really valuable. So Spencer asking one of the most observant people who he should be afraid of is actually a really good move. You're right. I didn't think of it that way. It's hard for me because I'm just like, or run your game, pick up the ball, take it somewhere. But you're right. He took the power and he made her expose things. Like, he kind of put her ahead of him because she's the one who's naming names now.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was really smart. I didn't think of it that way. So Natalie says, well, I can't stand Brent, but if you're going to go for somebody, go for Brendan. Brendan says, such bullshit, man. Such bullshit. Bullshit. Over and over and over. And that's his only defense, is that this is bullshit. Natalie clocks that Katie and he are strong, and that if Katie comes back, he will be in a good position, that he's already in a good position. And even he admits in the confessional, he's like, dude, she's so freaking right.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm speechless. I have nothing to say. She's right.
Her rationale is on point. Like, it really makes sense. And it's like a way for you to articulate that way that make people's decisions change. And I love how Natalie worded every single thing that she said about Brendan at that specific moment.
Yeah, she was beautifully articulate there. And she said what she had to say. Yeah, Spencer didn't consider it.
That was a cringe-worthy moment. I was disappointed.
that was his moment to switch things up, to take somebody from the top or the middle, and to really showcase that he's going to run this game. But instead, they throw it on Brent. And do you remember who said Brent's name? Was it Natalie or Brendan?
I cannot. It was so quick. I cannot. I wasn't able to follow.
His name first, and then they moved to Brendan. I don't remember who moved it back to Brent, but that was really frustrating.
I think Brendan even said that the people on the other side of the row were controlling much of the votes, and then I think somebody on the other side.
Brent agreed with that for some reason.
I think that
I'm not 100% sure what happened there, but it ended up coming down to Shireen or Brent, and that was really frustrating.
But going back to Brendan,
super annoying really fast, and put this up again. Wow, look at who's at the bottom of the masculinity chain. Non-heterosexual men. It's almost as though y'all could stop coming for both the women and the gays. Like,
that is so true, because like there are good enough reasons for Spencer to choose Brendan. Like at the beginning of the episode, Spencer was now second guessing Brendan's alliance to him, because Brendan was trying to tell him who he's gonna choose in the battle match. And Spencer was like, that's a red flag. If that person is really aligned with me, he would never do that. So this was really a great chance for him to expose Brendan's vote. But why did he not? I
mean, they're like, oh, we know Brendan voted. So he knows Brendan voted for him. And yet, or he's saying he knows that Brendan voted for him. He's like, oh, we know Brendan voted. He had no choice but to vote for us. That was his only option. But then...
that's true.
And so he excuses Brendan. And he doesn't take him to the battle match, even though, as Natalie points out, Brendan is one of the best positioned people. Instead, he comes for Shireen and Brent. And I don't understand it. The only thing I can understand is what he said in 2 episodes ago, is that he's looking for the weakest people to go for physically. The very insult that pushed him and Shireen apart is the only reason I can think that he's saying that she threw a vote. Why is it okay for Brendan to vote for him, but not okay for Shireen to throw a vote?
What exactly? I very much
rather vote for her ally, her closest ally, than vote for you, and you're gonna take her out. She tried to work with you so much harder than Brendan did. Y'all could have come together and voted for Billy, but instead y'all worked against each other. And so you took out somebody who was willing to take out their own ally for you. Now, was she really willing to take out her own ally? No, of course not. Of course not. But I mean, she was willing to risk it. That says something. Like, as I said, and I think you mentioned, I would always throw my vote on somebody who I didn't mind going home, not somebody that I'm trying, but absolutely cannot go home. I guess Shireen doesn't have that policy. I don't know why it stressed me the fuck out. Like, don't. But she might as well have voted Spencer.
Yeah.
Was there any way to stop him from taking her in? Like, maybe she had voted who? Billy or Brendan? Who did he want? It was unclear who he even wanted. But she told him, I am not going to vote for you. And then she didn't. So what's his problem? Like, that's the question. What could she have done to not go into that battle match? The only thing is vote the way he wanted her to, but I just don't think that's, I don't know. To me, giving these excuses to like Brendan and being like, it's totally cool that you voted for me, but it's unacceptable that she threw her vote. It's just, it feels like a double standard, and it feels kind of ridiculous.
It is. And just building up more on that, because we've just started this conversation, I would just like to say, like, in social strategy games like this, it is often a natural tendency for people to work with people who you look like, because there's just much more commonalities at the beginning. So, and but now that you're much aware of that, and now that you're also aware of how the game dynamics of games like Sequester works, there is now that responsibility and added level of expectation for you to at least to give other people who don't like you, look like you, and try to build alliances with them. Like we've seen, like some of the strongest alliances are people who are different from each other, because both of them would have access to different kinds of people around them to work with each other. And I feel like what specifically happened, at least at the beginning of this game, is something like that, and that caused a lot ripples of effects, ripples of unfortunate events afterwards. And I myself have been like against toxic masculinity for a long time, like the way that okay, I'm not sure if I can say this. Feel free to edit it out. But yeah, like just being open about it. A lot of times in strategy shows, like we often see power as like the hemogenic. Did I pronounce it right?
Hegemonic.
Hegemonic masculinity that is perceived, and it's not always right. And I think now is the time to say that power comes in a lot of different ways. Power can come from strong women of color that has been seen in this episode, and queer men. We there are a lot of ways power can be manifested, and our idea, old idea of being like the most masculine um man is not a thing that we should subscribe to anymore, especially in games like this.
Yeah, and I think that Shireen, I think, gets to him a little bit. She says, basically, bro, you suck at Sequester. She like freaking like he makes his final decision. He says it's Shireen. There's so much back and forth. There's back and forth with Billy and Brent. And while this back and forth and Billy and Brent are going on, Shireen turns to him and says, reverse it. You suck at this game. Reverse it. Reverse it. And you can see it's like getting to him a little bit. He's like, he's not backing down. He's not backing down. But he's like, I'll just battle match my way. She's like, you suck. You have to make social relationships. I'm trying to give you an olive branch and you're taking me out instead. And he's like, nope. And she's like, you have to make connections. You have to make relationships. And then he's like, I'll just battle match my way to the end, which is like, okay, bro. But also she's like, the jury's not going to reward that. That's not the game.
Yeah.
I'm on the jury. Other people are on the jury. Think about the jury. You're not going to win. And I think that hit something with him. I hope it's something that maybe he takes into the next game. Because for a moment, he's like you see that she said something that he had not considered. And this goes back to, it's such an interesting matchup. This Jacob Jones and Spencer, like Matt, sorry, I laugh every time I say his full name. This matchup, this juxtaposition of these two players, because this is what Jacob is thinking about the whole time, is the very end. You know, he has his speech planned. He's got it.
Yeah.
Like after each challenge, he's like, all right, how am I going to include something I did in this episode that's going to get me that money, that's going to get me that crown, that 3-time win.
Yeah.
And I feel like that might have been the first moment that Spencer's really started thinking about the very end. I've said it before. It's hard to think about your next game move when your back's against the wall.
Every episode, yes.
How can you see 5 feet in front of you when 1 foot in front of you is an alligator with his mouth open? Okay, like I totally get it, but I think Shireen did hit him with that. I think that he's got to start to think, hey, even if I battle match back, I could still lose. How can I make this a winning game instead of a game I survived?
Yeah, that's a beautiful fine line that's hard to maneuver, especially if you're really like at the bottom of the order all the time. And I agree, but I think Shireen has that great way of conveying messages perfectly, and I think it really struck her. I saw it. I saw it in his eyes. Or maybe he was distracted all the time, and then somebody's talking in front of me. But yeah, I thought that it really hit him. And now that everybody is in jury, so that will really take into play on how they want to move and progress themselves in the end of the game. Like surviving battle matches will not be enough.
Yeah. And I think he's got to consider, the lies he tells too. Like this situation with Muna and Billy. Muna's going to be like, nah. Like if Billy goes to jury, Muna's going to be like, no. Now what had happened was, and tell the truth. And so that's another reason that your strategy of lying has to be a lot more elaborate and a little bit more careful to get to the end. If he had apologized and told Billy what happened, I think that would have gotten a lot further. Okay, we're distracted and we're going back and forth. He chooses Shireen. Shireen's unhappy about it. Not as unhappy as Rachel. Rachel wanted to go.
Rachel felt bad that she's not competing against Spencer. She's like, it's okay for me to do battle match, but why is it against Jacob Jones and not Spencer?
Yeah, she's just like, Jacob? Nah, Spencer, that's the dude I wanted.
Yeah.
She's like, I said his name so loud. I wore a shirt that said, Spencer, I want you out. How come I got Jacob Jones? The battle match happens. This battle match was a little hard to watch. You know what I mean? Like literally, because there's like, you can't see what they're doing, which creates a lot of tension, but is also just like literally difficult to watch. It's at night. It's of small beads. And I think it's cat litter.
It's what?
I think it's cat litter or sand or something.
I think it's sand.
Oh, okay. It's sand. It's the lighting made it look a little bit like cat litter. It looked a little gray on my screen, and I was like, is that cat litter? I was like, y'all wrong for that. Making them dig through cat litter. No, I think they did call it sand. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I was like, they were like, and then we're gonna take this back to our house and let our cats use it. But no, so it was a little hard to like literally watch. You couldn't really tell what was happening. So I appreciate that they kind of kept it short because
this is not my favorite challenge as well. Like I like the other challenges, but this is like number one. It's not that fair to people who don't have the best eyesight, and I feel like we should always take that into consideration and making challenges.
This is the first challenge that I think I would have had a physical problem with because I can't run, and bending over consistently would have been really bad on my back. This is the first challenge that I was like, fuck. Like I would have tried, and I would have given Spencer a run for his money and Jacob Jones, but this was the first one I was like, fuck, I kind of might have been.
Yeah.
But it's also luck, right?
It is. And that brings me to my second point. I feel like, in previous challenges, there's still like some form of strategizing that you can do. Maybe not in the ping pong challenge as much, but at least in some, there's still like, you can still like create a strategy out of it. And I feel like the best strategy that came out of this challenge is Jacob Jones or Jacob's way of burying some of the numbers in the sandwich. I think was very, very smart. But regardless, aside from that, there's not much. It's like really a lot of luck and good eyesight and ability to run a little and to bend over a little.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I liked Rachel's strategy of picking the first few and then always having some and then going back. And there was some strategy when we consider the fact what she said, that she wasn't paying enough attention to Jacob.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of strategy, but I like the puzzle better. It gave you a lot more shit talking ability. That's okay. I liked the ping pong better because I think I would be good at it, and it does involve a skill. But it's kind of hard when you're like either you have the skill or you don't. And I think the cards is also more entertaining because it involves memory and strategy. So for me, this was not my favorite challenge. Not just because of the results, but also because of the actual format and the difficulty to see it on TV.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that they kept it short and did not make us like try to watch them dig for too long. And the confessionals helped us figure out what was happening.
Yeah.
And in the end, Shireen and Rachel both lose. I think that it'll be really interesting to see Spencer and Jacob go back in. I think Spencer and Jacob are now aligned very solidly. And that's going to help Spencer's game so much because Jacob can see so much further than Spencer. And if Jacob's smart, that's who he wants to go to the end with. It's going to be Spencer. Like, he talked about how he wanted to go to the end with Marcelo because he thought he could beat him.
Yeah. But
he can 100% beat Spencer. He can 100%. Like, Spencer might be one of the few people he can beat right now because that Women of Color Alliance is not happy with him, and they make up a decent amount of the jury. They can sway a couple of other people.
Yeah, exactly.
And if the choices are between Jacob Jones and Spencer, then they're going to go Jacob. As unhappy as they are about it, they're going to go Jacob. And I think very few people will go Spencer over Jacob.
That is so true. We're still at the early start. No, not early, but in the middle stage. Did I freeze? The middle stage of the game. So there's still a lot of gameplay to do. But I agreed at this point. Between Jacob and Marcelo, I'm not 100% sure if Jacob really had it, because I think Marcelo would even get really more votes as of now. And between Jacob and Spencer is like a great person to sit with it at final 2 or 3 right now. 2 right now, because yeah. But we're still in the middle point, so there's still a lot of.
There's so much more game to play, but this could be a game-changing moment. This could really turn Spencer's game around. I feel like Jacob's been exposed an interesting amount. Brendan's been exposed an interesting amount. I think Natalie may have formed a good alliance with Spencer here and with Jacob. The problem is, where is Billy going to line out? All of her allies are gone. And she is a sitting duck. What do you think?
That's why I told before we started, like, I don't know how Billy will manage the next episodes. I'm excited to see it. I think Billy still has Josh. At least
Billy does have Josh.
Those are like I think that's the only. She has bad blood with Natalie. Definitely nothing with Jacob and Spencer.
Natalie will be so happy if she can get Billy out.
I know. I mean, I
hate that. I like them both. I hate that. I get this is one of those games where you're like, please stop. Please work together instead.
They're the only 2 women left in the game as well. So
we hate to see it. It's ugly, but
maybe they will like realize.
Yeah,
I would love it that if it happens. Also, this is a very critical point in the game because we've seen that 5 people who were eliminated were people who were chosen for battle matches, and now people I think are really getting more scared to be chosen if that trend continues. So,
here's my 100% hope. So we don't know who's coming back. I'm super excited. I can't wait. I have my guesses. Do you have your guess?
I don't. I have a hopeful guess, but I'm not sure if
what's your hopeful guess?
I think based on because like the way they do editing right now, they're very particular and smart.
They're so sneaky.
I know. So my guess would be Muna.
You think Muna?
Yeah.
I think it's Katie. I think Katie's getting a lot of screen time for somebody who went out second.
That's true. That is true.
Which I appreciate because I love Katie. But
and I love Katie as well. At the ending of the episode, though, and then when we look at that and the way it ended, Jay West was like screaming something, and then we also saw a glimpse of Muna almost getting so emotional. So I thought that it would be either one of them.
Yeah, I think that, but the editing is tricky, so I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be anybody. It could be Rachel out of nowhere. Rachel, like, while they were all yelling and Katie was looking around, I slipped that thing in my bra. Like,
Rachel was.
I think Rachel would be a straightforward person to come back. It would be kind of interesting. She'd be like, "I'm back and I'm here for Spencer."
But even
match, no matter what happens, bro.
Even at that challenge, Rachel was just like, I'm not even popping the balloons right now. I'm just looking at the floor, looking, and I thought that was so smart and very on brand. I just love her. I love how she
I think
thinks.
Jay West was doing the same thing. I thought that was smart, and
yeah.
But yeah, I did think like I love Rachel. I think if Shireen came back, it would be really like hectic, right? I think she would go again for Spencer. I think she'd be like, "Listen, bro, you fucked up. Like, you came for me when I was trying to work for you, and now you're at the bottom and you want to work with me again. I'll pretend that I want you gone." Like, I think Shireen would come for him. But I don't know. I think Shireen, like, I want Muna, Shireen, or Rachel to come back so Billy has somebody. But I think that no matter who comes back, I think Shireen and Rachel are going to be able to tell whoever, and if they have the LOS, that LOS goes to Billy.
I think so too.
I think Jay West would be happy to give it to Billy. I think obviously Muna, Shireen, and Rachel, if they find the LOS, would be happy to give it to Billy. I don't know who Katie would give it to. I don't know. She likes a lot of people in the game still. I don't know who she would give it to. Maybe the person who battle matches back, who wins, like who's going in. She might be like, "Hey, you're going in. That sucks. Here's an LOS." Though hopefully they get like an LOS already, like you did in the minis,
Yeah.
Like an auto LOS or safe for 2 rounds were the 2 options. So hopefully they have something like that. So if that's the case, I don't know who she gives it back to. Maybe Brendan. Who do you think?
I have zero idea.
Maybe
do you
not.
think she
to be like, no hard feelings. Let's squash this. Here's an LOS.
Maybe.
But she's not going back in if she found. She's not going back in if she finds the LOS stuff. So she's not trying to make allies. So probably somebody like Brendan or Spencer.
Yeah, like my God, the first answer I had on top of my head was probably Spencer, but I'm not sure if she will really do that.
They're close. Like that whole 619 crew is close, and so I think that she would probably. And since he keeps going to battle matches, I could see her giving it to him.
Same.
To see it. Like, it might be entertaining if Spencer's safer around, right?
Yeah. Let's see it. You
know what? I would entertain it. I would entertain that. It's not my first choice, but I entertain it. But it's more entertaining. So like the question is, if he gets the LOS, does he flaunt it or does he like wait and then like be like, sucks to be y'all? You know what I mean?
He would keep it a secret, I think. If it happens, he would keep it a secret, and he would be so happy when he reviews it. Like he would make it a big thing. And
I can see him doing the other thing. I can see him being like, "Y'all can vote for me, but I have an LOS. Like, you can vote for me. I have an LOS." Same thing with the battle match. You can try to battle match me. I have an LOS. So you'll be wasting your time. You'll be wasting your vote. You should try to do so. Like it kind of. I don't know, but I wouldn't tell anybody because then they're gonna flush it, right? Like they might not vote for you, but whoever's picked is gonna be like, "All right, well, let's flush that LOS, Spencer. You're up. Final decision," and then he flushes it, and you choose somebody else.
Yeah, and like it wouldn't give you the ability to eliminate somebody that you want to eliminate if you just flaunt it the way you do. Although I can see, like after you describe it, I can see it happening.
I mean, it gives you some ability to control it, right? Because you're like, I have the LOS, so my vote counts, and you can't vote me out. That's a big deal. That's like having an extra vote almost. You know what I mean? So,
but I think people will be smart though. to tell him that they're voting him out, but they will not vote him out just to flush the LOS.
Yeah, I don't know how I'd be interested. Everything is new this season, so
Yeah,
are there new rules for the LOS, or is it classic rules? So I don't know. Okay. So is there any last things you want to say before we wrap up for this episode?
Yeah, thank you, Suzi, for this wonderful recap. It's always nice talking with you. And there's a lot of game to play for the rest of the people. I'm very excited to see who's going to come back. And there's a lot of social things that are part of it. And it's always nice to learn from everything that's happening in the house so that we all learn together in this complete journey of learning.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think that, I'm going to say again, Jacob Jones is really winning this game right now. If he's kind of have to fight. It's not as chill as he wanted. Like 2 episodes ago, he was good to go. He's chill as hell. And it's no longer that game for him, but he is fighting hard. And I think he sees the path to the end. And I would be really impressed if people let him get there, or if he gets there, and disappointed in other people if they let him. I will say Billy is pure entertainment.
Yeah.
I mean, like we had Jacob say, does anyone want cake? But that felt really flat in comparison to Billy yelling, you don't know loyalty, cuz. So I think that like we have all these different levels of entertainment happening here. And I'm so impressed with her. I think she's very organic, very authentic, very genuine. Will she win? If she gets to the final 2, she has a very good chance to win. I think it's very hard to see her getting to the final 2 right now. She has 0 allies left. She had so much social capital 2 episodes ago, and now almost all of her allies are gone. Brent came at her for just being like, y'all fight hard. He was like, stop sucking ass. And I was like, oh, bro, calm down.
I know. I really want to see her go far to the end, but it's just so much more difficult right now. I still think she's playing amazing. I don't know what to expect for the next episode, which makes it very interesting.
Yeah, she has the jury in her pocket. And I think, we're only halfway there, but I do think people are starting to think about that. Shireen brought it up, you know what I mean? And you can't unring that bell. So everyone's going to start looking at the jury, and saying, hey, who has friends in the jury? Hey, who can I take to number 2 so that I can win? Brent is looking good right now to take, right? And so, oh my gosh, that comment Rachel made about how, what was it? Something was louder than Brent's voice, which she didn't think was possible.
The balloon popping.
I was like, oh, he came to that man. Okay. No, yeah. It's hilarious. But I mean, Brent's a good choice to take with you number 2 too, as well. He doesn't have as many friends on the jury, and Spencer, like we spoke about. So there's a lot of game left to play still, and I think no matter what happens next, we're gonna talk about it twice as long as the episode was. That's how much there is to analyze. I'm rooting for so many of these players. I really, really am. I still think we have a great winner among, as heartbroken as I am to see a lot of these players leave, only one person can win. And I think we could get a really good winner. I prefer some of the others, but if some of these people get to that second spot, then they really deserve to have that conversation. They really deserve their final 2 speech, because it is not going to be an easy road for anyone at this point. They're gone. Like, nobody's sailing. Marcelo is sailing. I don't know how much longer he can do it, but as long as he can stay that snake in the grass, he's doing really well. But everybody else is going to have to fight to get to the last spot. And I hope this game, I think, has really been broken open.
It is. It's always live. You always don't know what to expect, which makes Sequester.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't think I have any more comments. Thank you so much for joining us, Renzo. We always love to see you.
Thank you for having me here. It's always a pleasure. And I love you, Suzi. You know that.
Where can people find you, Renzo, on Twitter?
On Twitter, it's my what do you call it? Twitter handle is at I am Renzo Santos. That's it.
Yeah. And then I'm just at Suzi J. So we are so easy. We are like we kill the Twitter name.
Yeah.
You'll get like yeah. But so we're Sequester's going on a little break for the holidays, but it will be back January 3rd, 9 p.m. Of course, they left us with the worst cliffhanger ever. We have weeks and weeks to speculate. So yeah, let's keep watching, keep speculating. Definitely add us with your thoughts and your opinions on this episode and the recap. Looking forward to it, y'all.